Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us right here on KTN Sunrise Live. Of course, in the middle of our discussions and getting heated up, I'm excited about the show today because we're talking about issues that affect you and I, even with all the political conundrum that is going on in the country at the moment, how you can make a difference in your life and how you can make sure that this election, besides being free, fair and peaceful, also gets you what it is that you want, because that's what it is at the end of the day. We pick the leaders that we want to be able to serve us in one way or another. Now, to talk more about this and to talk about something interesting that's called Passion for Peace, this morning we've got WANJOHI, who's from the International Strategy Center, and we've got Donnald Rabala, who's an advocate of the High Court, but also the project manager for Passion for Peace. So that is the hat that he'll be wearing this morning as he joins us for our discussion. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Perhaps we can start with you, Donnald. Let's talk about Passion for Peace now, and what it's about and how people can engage.
Passion for Peace is a program which was started by my friend WANJOHI, who's a chair for International Strategic Center. And when he started it, he of course had the initial idea was to focus on electoral violence. Now, and that is why if you look at what our main target right now is the electoral violence, and we're coming at such a time when the elections are taking place. So we came up and decided to look at what normally happens in Kenya. It's normally a 5-year cycle of violence. Just some few months before the elections, you have people getting incited by the politicians. You have politicians going back to their communities, telling them A, B, C, D about certain other communities. And a few days before elections, people start fighting, and during the elections again, people fight. After the elections, people fight. The tension is, it's a cycle. It never ends. Okay. So we came up with this idea to campaign for peace, in as much as we have government institutions that are supposed to be ensuring that peace takes place. There's NSI and NCIC headed by Kibunja, but we decided as normal citizens to also take up this important task and spread peace amongst our youth and other Kenyans in general.
All right, okay. Eric, how does this happen? Why are we constantly in a cycle of violence like Donnald is mentioning, before, during, after an election cycle?
Most times it's based on selfish interests by politicians or by other civic leaders. But the most important thing is that we now have a constitution that is functional, a constitution that empowers Kenyans to be Kenyans, a constitution that empowers Kenyans to make contributions towards this development of our country in various facets. And that is why we came up with this concept of saying that enough is enough of violence. Enough is enough of divisions, either based on tribal divisions, religious divisions, or whatever other kind of divisions. We are Kenyans, we should come together as Kenyans, and we should always acknowledge that with a united Kenya, we can achieve a lot. Okay. With a divided Kenya, we can't go far.
Yeah,
correct.
We literally achieve nothing and come to a standstill. And I think we noticed this in 2007 when the country was literally on its knees. So being divided certainly does no one any favors. We've talked about, you know, at this time, and we keep on saying how the politicians whip up emotions and, you know, they set up, you know, barriers. To what extent, Eric, are we personally responsible for some of the election violence that we see? It's all well and good to say, well, these leaders come in and, you know, they have divisive politics and they preach tribalism. And the reason I'm asking this is because we'll talk about the commitment pledge that you have mentioned today. So, Eric, tell us, to what extent am I responsible for the violence that happens? Am I personally responsible to any extent?
Yes, you are. One, the kind of influence that politicians have on us, for instance, in their advancements of their agendas. You hear people coming to tell us that they will do this in a period of 5 years, they will do the other. Most of what they're talking about is unrealistic to achieve. For instance, I've had very many people say that they'll be giving the youth free money to start up businesses. And you wonder, where will they get this free money from? Is that achievable? No, it is not. Others say they'll give out interest-free loans. We all know that that is not possible, because when you give out loans, there are people who are administering these loans that need to be paid. I mean, there's an administration fee. So when you look at most of these things that we are told and we take in, and decide to go by it and support somebody because of this is what they have said, that is where we go wrong. In 2007, that is what happened. And unfortunately, we ended up in a very, very unfortunate situation as Kenya, whereby people were given false promises. And as human beings, once you're given hope, it gives you the power, or it empowers you to fight for a common cause. Right. Now, people are being given false hope as to what they will be or how their lives will be empowered when certain politicians get through. And when the politicians go in and don't deliver on their promises, then it brings a state of desperation. So your responsibility and my responsibility and the collective responsibility of Kenyans is to vet carefully what we are being told by these politicians. Okay. Any politician that tries to divide us rather than unite us, we should be very careful about supporting such people. All
right, okay. Interesting that you mentioned that, Eric. But Donnald, promises are just that. It's sort of like when, you know, a man is wooing a girl to try and get him to marry her, he promises her this life. Sometimes it doesn't always pan out because it's also, it's an ambition. It's, you know, what we possibly hope will happen in the next 3 or 4 years. Like Eric mentioned, people get desperate when promises are not fulfilled. But when they find those promises are not fulfilled, what are the avenues that they can use to tell leader X, we're not happy? Because what we generally see is when they get desperate, they resort to violence. It's almost like there are no other options. If I'm unhappy with you, we won't start, you know, having fisticuffs and holding each other's collars. Perhaps we can educate the people on, if and when you get to that point when you say, okay, this leader promised us this, we're not getting it, what are some of the avenues that they can use to express their displeasure and to express their desperation?
It's a very good question. I would want to approach it in 2 ways. There is a legal way of sorting it out. The legal way would involve, if it's something which is actionable, you can go to the courts of law and then get your expectations achieved. If it is political, the thing is you'd have to educate the masses on the politician himself. Let the people know the kind of agendas which is set before he got into office, and let the people also know whether these agendas have been achieved. And if they have not been achieved, the point is get rid of him through the vote. What as Passion for Peace we are against is taking up arms and fighting one another in the name of trying to solve disputes. That is what we are against. So there are other means of sorting this out peacefully, and that is what we'll continue campaigning for. And most of the people are normally rather enlisted to engage in this act of violence are the youth. So you'll find that most of our target group is normally the youth, but we're also targeting the political leaders themselves to have them make a personal commitment to maintain and keep peace during all times. Yes.
And we're talking about the young people who are mostly vulnerable. Tell us, why are the youth vulnerable to being manipulated?
Simply because the poverty levels in this country are very low. Then there's a tendency to have some desperation towards making ends meet. So when you have people who are poor and are not employed, and somebody comes and tells them that they'll give them a few coins for them to advance their cause, whether it's a good cause or a bad cause, the youth tend to fall vulnerable for that. And most of them actually don't have a clear sense of comprehension of what their actions can lead to. One action leads to another, which has ripple effects, and the cycle goes on and on and on. And that is why we are saying that in our program, we target the youth, and not only the youth, but all Kenyans, because peace is for all Kenyans. And most of all, we are also targeting politicians. It is our desire, for instance, to see all these political presidential candidates come together in one forum and sign, for instance, this Passion for Peace, a certificate where they commit themselves to maintain peace, which would send a very strong message to their electorate, to their supporters, and to the entire nation that we could have a division in our policies or in our way of doing things, but we are all united for a common cause, which is peace in Kenya. We are all united towards the development of this republic. And so the message would go out to Kenyans out there that they too should unite for the purposes of peace and development, national cohesion. I mean, you look at all these important things that can take our country forward. That is what we ought to be. We ought to be united together as Kenyans for.
Right. Let's talk about this commitment pledge that we have with us today.
Yes.
Tell us about it and why it's so important.
Why this commitment for peace is important is actually for all of us to see. I want to take us back to 2007 when we had electoral violence. We know what happened. We know what Kenya became. People could not even get credit, small thing as credit. A loaf of bread, the price had gone up to about 200 Kenya shillings. People could not move from point A to point B. There was no meaningful development taking place within the Republic of Kenya, be it at the coast, be it in Western Province, be it in Central, be it in Northeastern. Nothing was going on. The social fabric was at a total breakdown. Now, do we want to go back there? Of course we don't want to go back there. We want to foster unity amongst the Kenyan people. And once we foster unity, we can be able to achieve and attain any level of development that we want to achieve. And the only way that can be done is through peace. Without peace, we have nothing. So that is why we came up with this idea of the people that we want to enlist in this kind of a campaign, signing what we know as the Passion for Peace Commitment Pledge.
As you do that, I'd just like to ask my cameraman to try and zoom in on that so that people can have an idea of what this looks like.
True.
So carry on. So it's the Passion for Peace Commitment Pledge.
Yes. Now, I know Eric will say more on this, but what I want to say is that it is different from maybe what other bodies are doing, simply because we are making them sign this particular document and they retain a copy to remind them that they decided and they made their own commitment to keep peace without being forced, without being coerced by anyone, but it was their personal choice. Right. Yes.
So as you can see, there's two there that you can see. There's two copies of that. So one is signed and kept by the individual that makes this commitment.
Yes.
And you keep the other.
Yes.
Right.
The main concept is to have a symbol as a sign of remembrance of the commitment pledge we made. And what we're doing is not just going out collecting signatures. We are one of the organizations that are accredited by IEBC to carry out voter education in all counties in Kenya. So in our dissemination process, we use peace as a key component of our processes, whereby after educating people on how you can vote, why you should vote, the importance of voting, and the role of IEBC in this electoral process, we now come and sensitize people about a key component of peace. And by so doing, we educate people about peace and why it is important to have peace in Kenya. And we ask people to sign certificates, especially those who are willing to become peace ambassadors, Passion for Peace ambassadors, whereby they sign the top part of the certificate, which reads, let me use myself as an example. I, Eric WANJOHI, do hereby pledge to maintain, advocate, and promote peace prior to, during, and after the 2013 general elections. I commit to make a difference by upholding national cohesion and ensuring peace prevails in Kenya at all times. Then after that, we take down the details in a register, which includes their names.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Name, ID number, registered in which county, your mobile number as well.
Correct.
Okay.
For two reasons. One is for integrity of the process. How do we verify that if we collect signatures that we did not sit down with a bunch of friends and sign these certificates? Now our auditors, internal and external, will be able now to pick up that register form, call people at random to verify the details or the contents of these certificates, the integrity of the signatures that we've collected. Secondly, after making people sign up the certificates, there's a mobilization part, whereby we'd want to mobilize people, everyone who has taken part in this process, to at least influence one more person. Hypothetically speaking, let's say we recruit about 5 million peace ambassadors. If each person can come and mobilize one more person to make a similar commitment, then we have a situation whereby we have 10 million peace ambassadors countrywide. And if we have a total registered voter list of about 14 million and something, 10 million is actually a very good number to work with to spread the message of peace.
This is what makes it a little different from others, because it's just about saying, oh, you know, I commit to keeping peace, but then there is consequences after. There's actions that are expected of you even after signing this commitment pledge.
Correct.
Okay, so this is what makes it different from the others. And of course, being accountable. You have my ID number, you have my phone number, or passport number, and that sort of thing. So it's keeping in touch then with these networks of young individuals that do this. Let's talk about the youth, and you are targeting to get them this. What are your areas as you go out to do voter education that you've been mandated to?
Yes, we go out and we carry out voter education. Before we were carrying out civic education, but now as we go closer to the election date, voter education takes precedence. So as we go out to carry out our voter education programs, we carry our certificates along, and we also work with other partners, other stakeholders. For instance, the National Youth Sector Alliance recently had the National Youth Summit. That was on last Thursday and Friday at KICC. And we partnered with them in that they gave us an opportunity to come and have and recruit our peace ambassadors and have our certificate signed. Out of 1,000 plus members that attended, we managed to sign up about 905 people.
That's a very good turnout.
In those 2 days.
Yeah.
And then we've also used other mechanisms. For instance, we have this Miss University beauty pageant, the finals of which will be held today, this evening. We spoke to some of the participants and we recruited them as our peace ambassadors. And they went an extra notch to go out there and recruit their own peace ambassadors. So there are some that have recruited about 65 in 4 days, others 50 in 4 days. But the reception is very positive and very encouraging.
I'd like to talk about the fact that some people say, you know, when we have all these peace initiatives that come up before the election, and some people say, okay, this is very idealistic. This is okay. So I sign a piece of paper. So what then? There's people who say, so tell us why this is important and why it would be effective for all the people who would sit in their houses and say, okay, I mean, really, efforts like these, the impact that they would have.
Now, one, when the message of peace resonates amongst many Kenyans, we have a tendency of people believing in the message that they are spreading, which means that they will start acting in the same kind of message that they're spreading. Secondly, we're not only spreading the message of peace, but it's peace and national cohesion, such that after the elections, the campaign does not go down. We still continue with the campaign, going around the country, sensitizing people on national cohesion and the importance of realizing that we are all Kenyans and together we can achieve a lot. So it's peace and national cohesion that we intend to preach prior to, during and after the general elections.
And I think the reverse of what you're saying is the more we keep hearing of threats of violence and that sort of thing, the more we think it. You know, the more a lie is spread,
correct,
soon enough it sort of becomes the truth. And this is just ingraining that in our minds such that we start to act and behave in ways that promote peace. Yes. That would be the aim of that, Donnald?
Yes, it's true. And really, I don't even want to go very far in this. Look at what happened during the party nominations. Look at what happened. Peace is very volatile. Unless it is maintained, unless it is nurtured amongst the people of Kenya, it can turn to be something else within a second. So we want to be able to drum up the idea of peace throughout the electoral period, throughout the campaigns, and after the elections. Yeah.
Right. Voter education might be one of those reasons, because the IEBC has launched its voter education exercise.
Yes.
That started, excuse me, I think on Sunday, and runs all the way up till right before the election. You are also involved with them in that, and I think a lot of people think this is just for the IEBC. Tell us why you're involved now in voter education. It's not just about talking peace, and perhaps the link between educating the voters on what's expected of them and the election being peaceful. Is there a correlation there?
Yes, there is. One, when you tell people, when you educate people on how to vote, and the importance of the integrity of the process. For instance, assuring people that this time round we will not have any riggings of elections and the elections will be free and fair. People tend to calm their temperatures down and they believe in the process. And once you believe in the process, you start believing in the policies and the structures that have been put forth. And the more peaceful it will be, such that when you're conducting your voting activities, you do it in a very peaceful way. That is one. Secondly, how do you vote? To ensure the integrity of the process, that people will not make mistakes on that ballot, because all what you need to do is just to make one mistake and that's it.
Right.
So to ensure that people choose the right people that they want to choose, we roll out this voter education process so as to make sure that the person that you want to elect is the person that you vote for when the time comes.
Okay, all right. So voter education is very important, because lack of information about the voting process and its integrity will then lead to what? That then leads to violence.
Correct. For instance, if you have a situation whereby there are very many spoiled votes in a certain region, and a certain candidate was the most popular in that region, and most of the votes that are spoiled pertained to his side, of course you'd expect temperatures to rise at that point, where people will think that the person has been rigged out.
Yes.
But that is not the case. So we're trying to sensitize people on the importance of voting, trying to sensitize people that we have a credible institution that is carrying out the voting process, which is the IEBC. And they've put forth mechanisms that will ensure the integrity of the process again, so as to reduce the number of incidences that would heighten temperatures. Then thirdly, to make sure that people actually know who to vote for, how to vote for the person. And of course, there's the aspect of we ought to sensitize people on what is the role of the senator or the governor or the county rep or even the county assembly, so as they can make a very knowledgeable decision as to who they should put into such offices.
All right, and that is important. And this is not work that should just be left to the IEBC alone, right?
Yes, we as ordinary Kenyans should also take it up, because you can right now IEBC are overwhelmed. They are busy arranging for campaigns. They're They're busy trying to put the politicians online. They're busy trying to look for the politicians who are really breaking the electoral code. All that is within the IEBC. So right now, it behoves all of us as Kenyans to stand up. Whatever little you can do, whatever contribution you can make towards achieving lasting and national peace and cohesion, let us do it. And that is where we come in.
Yeah. And it's also a personal responsibility, wouldn't you say? Because we will have organizations like yours, Passion for Peace, going around into various regions of the country. But it's also upon me, myself, as a young person. Is that right?
Correct.
To find out about the elections and to do that. We talked about personal responsibility in the beginning, and it's also a personal responsibility to learn about this election, is it not?
Correct, because lack of understanding or comprehension leads to ignorance, and then also opens up avenues for deceit, where people will tell you things that are not supposed to, or will deceive you with their information for their own interests. So it is upon each and every Kenyan to go out there and look for information that they do not have, and make sure that they fully comprehend the importance of this electoral process. Yes.
Right, okay. Donnald, being the project manager for us for this, tell us where we can expect to find Passion for Peace. Where can I get my certificate? I have one here, so I hope I'll be able to sign it before we end this show. But in what areas, where are you going to be engaging members of the public? I know we are targeting the youth because they're the ones who are most vulnerable, but we're targeting just about everybody else. Where can they hope to be able to engage with this initiative?
Yes, we are currently we're trying to reach various people. We've tried to reach the youth through the universities. As Eric has aptly told you, we've enlisted quite a number. We have almost over 1,000 people from the various universities across the country. Secondly, we are also going to reach people through the internet. There is a website which is in place where people would be able to sign this peace certificates through the download them through the internet, update the information just as it appears on the list on the web, and then we'll be able to have that information back at us. The other thing is we're also trying to partner with various other organizations. When they have events, we do approach them and set up our banners there. We set up a desk and try to sensitize the people who attend those kind of activities. Yes.
And voter education is so important because this is a new type of election under a new constitution, and you will be going out to the various areas, Eric, talking to them about this election and what's expected of them?
Yes, we have been going out and we'll continue going out. And as I said before, we have actually formed partnerships with other organizations as well, that when they go out to mobilize people and to sensitize people, that they also inform us so we can join them. We have a team that we have set that is all over the country. There's some people currently who are in Kisumu who are doing a very good job. There are others who are in Yeriko doing a good job. There are others who are in Mombasa doing a good job. And our aim is to reach the entire nation. We'll be going to, for instance, Rift Valley next week. We'll be going to Thika this weekend. Then we'll also be going to Wajir. We've gotten invitations to the northeastern. Okay. So we intend to cover the entire nation.
Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of people who are watching us around the country can hope to see you in their regions, and it's not just a Nairobi thing or an urban city thing. As far as Wajir, I like that. Yeah. All right. So is this a commitment pledge that I can sign?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So while I get to signing this, you can just give us your final words, because this is something I would like to definitely commit to, and I think it's important. You know, it starts with me here. I cannot be talking about this issue and I let them walk away without actually committing to this process as well. So just so that I understand, yes, when I and anybody else with whom you will encounter from Wajir to Thika to central Kenya and to the areas that you will go out to, once I sign this, what then is expected of me between now, the general election, and even after? What am I committing myself to doing?
You're committing yourself to peace, to promote peace, to advocate for peace, maintain peace prior to, during, and after the general elections. It is your sole responsibility to preach the peace message to the next person that you come across. Influence your social circles, influence your family circles, influence even your place of employment, your work circles, and make sure that the message of peace resonates all around you. That way, people will be able, A, to identify you as a peace ambassador, and then B, they'll be able to feel challenged by your message. And when you look at it in retrospect, we ought to realize that of all these presidential candidates, only one shall become the president. And if only one becomes the president, that means that it is our responsibility to accept that person as the president of Kenya. Whether I voted for the person or not, that is our president. So with the message of peace, it is our responsibility to preach peace and tell people that whoever becomes is ours, and we need to work with this person to bring development in this country.
Absolutely. Your final words, Donnald, as I carry on with the signing of this?
Mine is going to be very, very brief. I just want to urge Kenyan people, when you go out there and cast your vote, go back home and wait for the results. Yes. Whichever the results, accept them. And when you go and attend the political rallies, in as much as the politicians will always say what they want to say, try and weed out, try and don't focus so much on the negative things they say that incite other people, or even can incite you into developing hatred for other people. Ignore such kind of statements. The third thing I want to say is, as a country, we need to be together. One Kenya, one people, regardless of which person becomes a president of the Republic of Kenya.
At the end of the day, one thing we need to remember is that there is no one president leader that is elected overwhelmingly 100% by the people.
True. Correct.
Democracy is about the majority.
True.
So even if the person that I wanted to doesn't make it there, doesn't mean there's no country after that, and doesn't mean he won't serve me as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that becomes our president collectively.
Yes.
Yes.
Whether we voted him in or not.
Or not.
The
Correct.
majority has spoken.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you both very much for this initiative. We look forward to it over the weekend in Thika?
Yes, we're in
Okay.
Thika over the
All
weekend.
right, okay, and then Rift Valley, and then WANJOHI, and many other regions in the
Yes.
country, and of course engaging that, even with the beauty pageants, that's an interesting avenue to choose, especially for young people, you know, and I like the idea of that. Okay,
We'll
so
also be there today.
yes,
At Carnival Grounds.
right.
We'll be there to sign up people who will be willing to participate.
Okay, all right. So here's mine. I've signed my Passion for Peace Commitment Pledge. I will then, of course, leave them with their copy and mine, which makes me accountable.
Let me give you
So, yes, in fact, while he does that. So, in the meantime, if there's anything that I say or do that goes against the tenets of peace in this country, then we will have a problem, won't we? I have committed myself, and I'm going to write down my ID number so they can trace me wherever I am. This is my Passion for Peace Commitment Pledge. What is yours? It may be that you are able to engage with this initiative. Even if you're not, think about it today. What are you doing towards promoting peace? You know, the more we say things, the more we start to believe them. The more we say, oh, you know, there will be violence, and, you know, if my leader doesn't get in, then there will be trouble. Then the more we start to behave subconsciously, in most cases, in ways that promote violence. However, if we keep on talking about peace, keep on thinking about this, discussing this in our public spaces, then perhaps the more we act in ways that promote peace. Is that right? Okay, so think about that. Get your Passion for Peace Commitment Pledge, or do it even amongst yourselves. This is one way I'm sure the team here would be happy. If you can just do that in your communities wherever you are. Come on, this is, Kenya is too big. Your career plans are too big. Your family plans are way too big for it to be spoiled by just having violence during this coming election. Thank you so much for watching, and I thank my guests for coming in and inspiring us towards peace during this general election time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for engaging as well. We will see you again tomorrow live from here at the City Centre. Do keep it KTN Kenya throughout the day. Our election centre coverage focuses on you, focuses on your agenda, focuses on your issues, which is what this is all about. Have a great day ahead. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.